We happy? Andrew? Are we happy?
We're happy.
Alrighty guys, so that was my recreation of the Pulp Fiction briefcase scene. And stick around so you can find out how recreating a scene just like what I've done here could actually win you $2,500 worth of Nanlite products. How's it going guys? My name is Andrew Murphy from Down Under in Gold Coast, Australia. So I'm absolutely stoked to announce that Nanlite is running a new competition, and I guess because you can win some cool gear at the end of it, but mainly because I've asked myself and 4 other creators to actually judge the whole competition. Like, what? So myself, Peter Lindgren, Helena, Alexandra, and Luke will be judging the Make It Your Way competition that Nanlite just launched today. And like I said, the winner will take home more than $2,500 worth of amazing Nanlite gear, including the main light that I actually used to recreate this scene, the Forza 300B. Now let's actually break down this scene recreation that I did and just go through the lighting setup to help, I guess, teach and hopefully inspire you to go out and recreate your own scene for this competition. So the scene that I decided to recreate was the briefcase scene from Pulp Fiction. Now, don't shoot me, but this was actually shown to me by Luke Curtis, because I haven't actually seen Pulp Fiction. I know, like I should have seen it, but I haven't. But after he actually showed me this scene, I just immediately came up with the idea and I just decided to go with it. So for this recreation, I wanted to keep the setup to a minimum to basically show you that you don't need a ton of gear to make cool looking images. Like I could have easily used all my lights and made like a super intricate, like amazing lighting setup. But for those of you who may only have say like 1 or 2 lights, then this lighting breakdown would kind of be useless if I use like 5, 6, 7, 8 lights. So the main light that I used for this recreation was the Nanlite Forza 300B, which is way overkill for this particular scene. Like I'm pretty sure I didn't crank it above like 8% or something for the entire shoot. But the main reason I use this particular light was because it can be run off batteries, which was perfect for this shoot to basically just speed up the process. Because like not having to try and find power points and run cables around the house, like just saved so much time. Plus in that stairwell shots, there was a power point out there, but it just, for some reason, it just didn't work. So we're forced to use batteries. So luckily I did have the Forza 300B and I could run that off batteries. Anyway, enough about that. Let's actually just get into the breakdown. Let's start in the stairwell and we'll go through the different shots. So for this opening scene, which wasn't actually in the original Pulp Fiction scene, but I decided to just add it in to make it, I don't know, I just wanted to add it in. Mainly to show off the OD8B card that I made for this shot, but also to show you guys that the recreation doesn't have to be like 100% accurate. It's basically just using the concept that you see in a scene and making your own kind of like flair and creativity on it. So the main problem that I ran into shooting this was that there was this like security sensor light in the stairwell, which at nighttime basically never turns off. So at first I tried to just cover up the sensor light in the hope that it would eventually turn off. But after that didn't actually work, like it just never turned off. I just took a light stand and a black foam board, which I just got from Officeworks. Super duper cheap, and all I did was basically boom it up and just to cover as much of the light as I possibly could. And I also just removed the dome on the sensor light cover just so I could get the foam board as close as possible, again just to try get rid of as much light as possible. Now you can see it's not flagging the light perfectly, like there's still a bit of light spill, but it took away a majority of the light, especially onto that main area that I was shooting, so that was good enough for me. Now for the key light, I placed it down into the actual stairwell and I shone it back through this railing to try cast some light streaks onto the bag, just to add a little bit more depth, because without that it was kind of a little bit boring, like kind of a little bit flat. And I also used just another little bit of foam board from Officeworks just to flag the light a bit, which was like falling really harshly on the door frame, and it was just way too bright for the scene. So basically I just took that bit of foam board and just lent it up against the railing to remove just that portion of the bright light on the door frame. And obviously ideally I would have used a black foam board, but all I had was white at the time, and it still worked fine for this particular scene. Now real quick as well, this whole scene was shot on the Canon C70 with the Meike 35mm t2.1 and the Samyang 50mm t1.5 cinema lenses, which is basically like my go-to lenses or go-to setup for when I'm shooting commercials. Now moving inside, which was actually the first scene that we shot, I set up I guess what was like the hero shot with the briefcase being open and that orange light coming up and illuminating my face. Now looking at the reference shot from the Pulp Fiction scene, we can see that the main key light is coming from the right side of the frame, and it's really sharp and really crispy as well. Like we can see these really sharp shadows on the background and also on our main character's face as well. But we can also see as well that the main light is on the character and it's not just spilling everywhere as well. So basically we could have used something like, say, a strip softbox, but what I decided to do is basically use my Forza 300B and I put it outside and I used the curtains on the window that I had and basically used that to flag the light off the back wall, so the main brightness from the light was mainly on myself. But then when I was actually setting this up and flagging it off and whatnot, the background got a little bit too dark, but I wanted it to be like more just brighter in general, but I didn't want that really harsh light coming in. So basically what I did is I just put a bit of white foam board, again that bit from Officeworks, just near the front of the light. And what it would do is it would just actually take that light and just reflect it onto the background, just bring the levels up a little bit, but still keep that nice kind of like soft look that we're going for. And this honestly worked like perfectly for this shot. So this particular shot that you're seeing right now was on the Makey 35mm t.1 cinema lens, and then I switched over to the Samyang 50mm t1.5 to capture the close-ups, but I used the exact same lighting apart from adding in like that main orange briefcase light. Now to get the actual shot of like the light inside the briefcase, we can do this by a number of different ways, but basically I just threw my PavoTube 6C Mark II inside the bag and I set the color temperature to 2700 Kelvin to get that nice warm like look. And then I just tweaked the brightness with the little Nanlite remote, this little one here, basically until I found the right brightness to match the look of the original scene. Now one thing to note is that I didn't actually put the PavoTube directly in the middle of the bag, and that's because in the original scene you can see from the shadows casting on his face that it's slightly to the left of frame, and I also did that as well, mainly just because like I wanted it to try to keep it separated from that main key light so it didn't mix too much. It also just kind of adds a little bit more depth to the shot as well. And I should also note as well, at this point Odie has not been in the bag, like no animals were harmed in the making of this video. I promise we put him in just at the last minute to get the very last 2 shots. So now here we grabbed Odie, which is our main star of the show. So this is our 8-month-old Japanese Spitz. It's freaking cutie, absolutely love him. And we placed him in the bag to basically finish off the scene. And I used my own ending again to show like my own creativity for this challenge. Again, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, doesn't have to be 100% accurate, as long as we get the feeling that you've been inspired by the scene that you choose. After I shot the close-up and the medium shot of the bag, I need to get like a perspective shot looking into the bag with Odie inside, which was just freaking adorable. I loved it. But also the shot where John Travolta also is like punching in the combination to open the briefcase. And now actually, I just noticed after kind of like when I was writing the script for this and looking back and doing the editing and stuff, that the lighting for this shot is completely the opposite way, because the main light in the shot, obviously looking at him, is on the right side of frame, and then the perspective shot, which is the complete opposite, you'd think the key light would be on the left side of frame, but it's actually on the right side of frame. So they've flipped it completely the wrong way. But this also goes to show that like the lighting doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it like is shaped good and kind of like is the right exposure values and doesn't bump up and down too much from shot to shot. You don't really notice it that much. So now the other shot I needed to capture was the shots of Samuel L. Jackson, or the other me, with basically a change of clothing on, which I again used like a super simple setup to shoot this angle as well. So again, if we look at the reference shot, we can see the light source is coming from the left of the screen, and there is a little bit of spill onto the background, but again, it's mainly on our talent's face. So for this, I used a very similar setup to what I had before, using the Forza 300B and a bounce board. I can get basically most of the light to hit my face, and then just bounced a bit of the light onto the wall so it's not so dark. And then for the close-up, I did add a tube light just to get some separation from the background. Now, I would have also obviously liked to have a rim light on the wide, but that would have required a lot more equipment. And again, I'm trying to make it as easy or as simple in the lighting department as I possibly could for this. Plus, because these shots aren't cut back to back, it's not as noticeable. And then that's basically it, apart from my poor as acting attempt to basically get excited over a cute little puppy. But anyway, if you want to be involved in the challenge by recreating a scene from the IMDb top 20 list, then follow the link in the description below to find out all the information about this competition. And like I said, myself and 4 other creators are going to be judging all the videos that you make, so I'm super duper keen to see what you guys come up with and the kind of like creativity that you put into this recreation challenge. But anyway guys, if you do have any questions about this, then feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Otherwise, stay creative and just be you. Have fun.